Hello, my name is Ralph Galen. Welcome to 30 Minutes. Today we are broadcasting from the House of Peace in Ipswich. House of Peace was created 26 years ago by Carrie and John Schuchard, who are themselves peace activists who wanted to provide a haven and kind of a base camp for those who were involved in the struggles for peace and justice. The House of Peace is also the home of a small therapeutic community that welcomes mainly youngsters, but families also who have been injured in wars, and they come here to heal and have the benefit of our great medical facilities in the area. And it's also the home year-round of individuals who have special needs and find this the most delightful and supportive place to be. I'm talking with Michael Sullivan today. Michael is a friend. He's also he's the coordinator of Veterans for Peace Chapter number 9, which happens to be the Smedley D. Butler chapter serving the greater Boston area. He's active on a national level. He's a welder, he's a carpenter, he's a true peace pilgrim. He's just come back from a vision quest across the country visiting with various Veterans for Peace chapters, and he spent 6 weeks at Standing Rock, the site of the Dakota Access Pipeline. And we're so happy to have him here today.
Thank you.
Yeah. How does it feel to be back in the East?
It's beautiful. I came back obviously for fall weather. It's always the best time of year for me, and I came back to be back to the peace movement and back with the Smedleys and back with VFP to be home.
Now there is an event happening on Armistice Day.
Yes.
November 11th.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, so for Veterans for Peace, there is a national campaign at this point and international trying to reclaim Armistice Day back as a day for peace and ending war, as it was stated back in World War I. And as modern days goes, we would like to continue that or reintroduce that back to the population of the United States or whoever wants to involve themselves in this. But at the same time to take back the name of Veterans Day too and incorporate that into Armistice Day as honoring people who are peacefully ending war. So it brings back the whole, the original concept of Armistice Day and brings it through its period of when it was Veterans Day and honoring veterans and in war and taking away the war part and just honoring veterans too. So it's making everything much neater and clean and more towards what it is originally meant to be.
And there's a march in Boston?
There is.
Mm-hmm.
So on Veterans Day every year there is a parade that is put on by most cities, and in Boston we have one, and we are allowed to be participating in that in the back of the parade with our own separate parade, where we march for peace, we do peace cadences, we do peace words of freedom and peace, and we're there to be with the crowd and be as veterans and to show the crowd that we are peaceful. And unfortunately there is two sides of this, where there is a war side or an industrial military complex side and a peace side. And so we try to be part of that, and we go through the motions of the parade with the city's parade, and then at the end where we separate, we go off on our own and we do a program at Sam Adams Park by Faneuil Paul. And it turns out to be a beautiful program every year. We always have a large amount of musicians and poets and writers and people who just want to speak about Armistice Day and Veterans Day, because we honor both now. And we just let people know that the program is there, and we do our part with that.
Now, this is not that you don't honor and recognize the sacrifice that people have made in their military service.
Right. It definitely it honors them more. It honors veterans more since we do it, or we're trying to do it this way, because the fact that Veterans Day is a day where we get free meals and we get appreciated with ceremonies and parades. We want more than that. So it's honoring veterans more, and victims of war more, and anybody who goes through war, which is technically nowadays anybody and everybody. So we just want to be there with that and make it a bigger program and show that it is bigger than the veteran being honored. It's the peace and that the veteran has created. So.
What do you mean by everybody going through war?
Well, I mean, my own personal belief is that yes, we are in 2016, and we have been in perpetual war in some type since 1940s, technically, where I believe in war as anything from protecting the water at Standing Rock, or protecting human rights, or protecting peace, or protecting anything that has to do with civil war, human rights, or natural rights. That anybody who opposes that at this point is against that, which is war. It's just creating that war so that that doesn't happen. Those rights don't created or maintained. So everybody is out, I would say, in some type of war nowadays. So that's how I want to state it. As a veteran, it can be stated differently, but we are doing something individually that we're fighting. So.
How have you been received as you walk through the streets of Boston? And the parade, by the way, gets off at 1 o'clock?
Roughly.
Is that right? You assemble where?
We assemble at the corners of Charles and Beacon, in the roadway between the park, the Boston Common and the Public Garden, So that's where they meet up at the end, where we meet up, but they take up that whole road between there, usually.
And as you walk through the streets of Boston, our beloved city, how are you received by the...
Quite well. Cheers and appreciation, people yelling "Veterans for Peace" and "Yay for Peace," and enthusiastic, and a lot of people shake our hands when we walk up to them, and we hand out flyers, and many people salute us, especially veterans that are appreciative, and the perception is it's always really well taken. And
so is it safe to say that people are taking a more global view of war and the effects of war? For instance, half of the United States budget is devoted to military purposes.
I would say, it's people are looking at it globally at this point, where they realize all the major industrialized worlds, or first worlds, are really the ones that are pushing to continue war, and to have these pacts with each other that we go in and we do what we need to do as whatever the mission is, and we continue. So it is global. People are definitely stating that and seeing it more now. And I don't know exactly the reason why, but it's definitely becoming more prevalent and more open, and people are talking about it, I've noticed. So.
For reasons of full disclosure, I'm an associate member. I never served in the armed forces. I'm the son of a career Navy officer, and I always grew up very proud of my father, and as far as you can do this, soaked up some of the military orientation to life. You served in the armed forces. Would you just talk for a minute or two about how you came to be a veteran?
Yep. So in 2005, I was 19. I joined the military 2 or 3 days. January 19th, so it would have been 3 days before my 20th birthday. I was in that point in my life where, obviously, what year was it? 2005, excuse me. There's a lot going on in the world, in this country. My mindset was it was very hard to make it up in the world. I didn't want to pursue conventional education at that point, so I went the work route and like that, and it was working. But I wanted something more. I have an ambitious attitude towards life and what I want to try and do. So I was being held up, so I had the opportunity, an economic opportunity, is how it was for me to join and to be there and to do what I wanted to do in the military, which was a welder. I wanted to be maintenance. I wanted to fix things when I was in the military. So I did that, and I was in there for that. I did 2.5 years with the Army, with 10th Mountain Division. I did one deployment to Iraq, the Camp Liberty, where I was multiple jobs, but it was towards maintenance and towards convoy security element, where I went out and with an element, and we protected convoys that were going through, and I was the maintenance person on those convoys.
May I just get a picture of this? I think some of us, many Americans, have images of these convoys driving along roads, sometimes speeding along roads to avoid explosives, IEDs, and so on. And is that the environment that you were in on these trips?
At the time during my deployment, it was very prevalent. I never had an incident where one was detonated or a threat that was detonated, but it was very prevalent. And it was always on the minds, of course, of everybody on the convoy, and we were trained to deal with it. So.
Were you acquainted with other soldiers who had experienced incidents?
At this point, yes.
Or
in my
wounded
life.
or killed?
Yep. And even back then, it was very prevalent. It was a common occurrence at that time, and it was way of life as we were in the middle of a war, and we knew a lot of people, or I knew a lot of people that were either maimed or wounded or had to leave and stuff like that. So.
It just occurs to me, how do you gear up to go out on another mission? You know, what's going through your mind when you know that yesterday you were lucky, nothing went off, but you know that another platoon or squad was affected?
Yeah, those thoughts came through my mind a lot when I was getting ready for deployments or through mission briefs. It would definitely be there every day, but it was the mindset where, you know, I'm here, this is my life. I can't really think of other options or what other thoughts would be. And so it really, it wasn't even forcing myself, but it was telling myself that I needed to stay with the perception right in front of me, and to forget about really what has happened the day before and what could possibly happen.
Was there a time when you began to see things differently and request another, I don't know how to say it, assignment or another way of being in Iraq?
I did.
Without actively participating in the war effort, how?
I did.
What happened?
About halfway through my deployment, I was actually getting ready to go home and leave, which means I was starting to contact family. I made a vow to myself that I would only contact one person throughout my deployment, and but I started contacting my family and seeing what was going on, and with that started coming the news from overseas, from the United States side coming to me, and like that, and it was. I had the mindset of anti-war or conscious objector throughout my deployment because of what I was seeing and what I saw, but I was being a soldier. What I felt was I was doing what was right, which I was maintaining things. So I did eventually, when I got back from my time back in Boston, I came back home. I went back and I had a meeting with my first sergeant and my commander, and I stated to them that the bolt in my weapon, the bolt inside of my M16 will never be entered again, and I took it out and gave it to them. And I didn't say that I was disrespecting them, that I was trying to be a conscious objector, but I'm letting them know physically that I will not be firing a weapon as a maintenance soldier.
How was that received?
It was received well, in a sense where they know me. I'm a natural rebel. And I made it to the military because I wanted to, and I did that. But I was a natural rebel, so they saw my attitude. They knew my attitude. They call me, you know, from where I am, living in the country with the spunk, the attitude that we have here in Boston, in the New England. They were there with it. Which was surprising now that I'm thinking about it more. But they understood the way I maybe presented it. Was that I'm adamant about me doing a certain job, and that's it.
After having performed, though, as a soldier in the battlefield, I'm surprised that you weren't greeted with disciplinary measures.
I did from battalion level, but it was a perfect timing of where a lot of stuff was happening, where it honestly got forgotten about because I continued my job. That was more thing. I didn't just sit down and say, no, I'm not doing anything. And this was going throughout the board a lot in the military at that time. It wasn't just me that was doing this. It was during the time of the surges and during the time of when Bush was, I can't remember what it's called, stop lossing. So it was that time. And it worked out well. And they, like I said, they just, they pretty much said, okay, well, you're going to continue with your job. They kept me under strict rule, but I continued. So I didn't, like I said, stop. So they liked that. And that's probably what got me through. So I'm happy for that.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's behind the scenes a complexity that I don't think many of us knew at the time. So we'll see you on November 11th. We still have some time to talk about Standing Rock, but I do want to plug the former coordinator, Pat Scanlon, of Chapter 9 of Veterans for Peace, has a wonderful album out, which is Extremists for Peace, and he'll be performing at Faneuil Hall after the march. Now, we're very excited to know that you wound up in Standing Rock. What's that about? And to tell folks a little bit about Standing Rock in case they've been living in a cave for the last couple of months.
Yeah, well, Standing Rock is originally started by the indigenous youth. The indigenous youth of the Sioux Nation, mainly Standing Rock and the Cheyenne River, I believe. The youth went and stood up when they started seeing the construction, and they eventually went to D.C. and ran and came back, and they've done a few things since then. But
this is located in North Dakota.
North Dakota, yes.
Near what town, or is it called Standing Rock?
It's called Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, but it is its own land mass. It's a reservation, and they have their own land available to them. The closest city that is a colonized city, which is Bismarck, or Mandan, North Dakota, right up Route 1806 in North Dakota.
And there was going to be a pipeline going through Bismarck that was rerouted, now going through Indian lands, and this is the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Yes.
And it is carrying what exactly?
It will be carrying crude oil from the tar sands, from either North America, or the United States or Canada.
Now, we're a fossil fuel addicted country. We don't make a move without our cars, and so what's the problem with transporting this much needed commodity?
No, the issue is, with my background of being in the trades and understanding how metal works, the pipes alone that are barely under the surface, I would say 15 feet, maybe 10 feet. They're only a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch at the thickness of the wall. And as we know, there's a lot of earthquakes happening in this country, and because of other environmental stuff that we're doing, and we're stating, and people are stating, that those pipes will break. And the way they're running the pipeline, they're running it under the river, but they're running it through land that will drain into the river, no matter what. That whole pipeline. There can be a pipe all the way up in the tar sands, and it'll drain into the Missouri, which will drain into the Mississippi, which will drain into the Gulf. So that whole point right there is that this can't happen, because we are seeing all over the country and all over the world that pipelines are breaking at this point. So gas, water, everything.
So this is not a first experiment.
No.
This is this tremendous precedent. This is different than fracking, of which there have been incidents. Is it the same as what's happening in West Roxbury?
Well, I'm not too versed in West Roxbury.
Okay.
You told me a little bit, but I would say the same thing. Where they're coming in and they're doing their contracts, and they're putting the pipeline in no matter what, no matter who stops it, and they're doing it. I wouldn't know about West Roxbury, but they're doing it as poorly as possible and as quickly as possible. And
so they're cutting corners.
They've cut many quarters when it comes to construction, from what I've seen.
And this is a time with the release of the Deepwater Horizon, and a renewal of our consciousness about what happened with BP in the Gulf, which is being attributed, that disaster is being attributed to not being in compliance with the very BP restrictions, protocols that they set up themselves. So you see that situation unfolding in Standing Rock.
And in Iowa.
And in Iowa.
And other encampments that will be hopefully coming up sooner or later, prospectively.
So what is actually happening at Standing Rock? How are people influencing this situation?
People who are influencing the situation is the indigenous, or are the indigenous. They're the movers of this, especially with the elders. The native veteran elders are holding the space when it comes to leadership, and different movements are coming together. Indigenous Environmental Network is there helping. AIM is there. American Indigenous Movement is there, and the leaders involved with all that are there.
What do the elders bring that's not active in typical American
history
society? They bring history.
They bring the history. They've learned their history from word of mouth, and from ceremonies. And from books. But
how would you characterize? I mean, it's only recently that Americans stopped throwing soda bottles out the back of their cars. What is the, in a word, what is the relationship of the Indian people, indigenous people, Native Americans to this land?
They're one with it.
They're one with it.
They are, even to this day, they are so connected to the land that every time there's a large negative force of opposition towards the authorities that are up there, spirit animals show up and perform ceremonies, show their pride of being in the area.
My son sent me a YouTube of a golden eagle that landed right in the middle of the camp. Just unbelievable. There's of course eagles, hawks. They're such skittish. They're going to stay away from people, and it landed and let itself be touched, almost like a grand affirmation from nature.
It is. From being there, it is. It's definitely. It's letting our ancestors know, and the way they speak, the way the indigenous speak about it, is confirming to me as a spiritual Caucasian person that they know, they can feel it, and I felt it too when I was there, and I can feel it still, that they feel protected, or they feel that their ancestors are there, even through spirit animals, or animals, or the wind blowing. The right spiritual person can come right up and say, that was Crazy Horse talking to us. That was Chief Sitting Bull talking to us. They have those stories that everything is spiritual. Even the flower floating by you is spiritual. So they hold that space with that they are one with the land, and that's what's helping them through this fight, this problem the situation that they're in.
I'm getting from you that if just the average person could somehow establish a connection with nature and bring their children up to be kind to their pets and to walk in the woods and appreciate the changes, that from that just open connection we would develop in ourselves, or renew in ourselves, a kind of reverence for the land, and be less capricious and impulsive about how we want to change it. Listen, we're to the end of our time. It's just flown right by, and I want to say that you have as a veteran for peace, starting a veteran for peace encampment and Standing Rock, you're looking for support You talked about looking for a trailer so you can bring back building materials, and as a carpenter, you're going to be building winter dwellings. Where do people respond?
So there are pages on Facebook. Usually you can hashtag, is what I state to people, no DAPL, no NODAPL.
Dakota Access Pipeline.
Yes.
Okay.
Or Standing Rock. If you really just put in Standing Rock or...
How can we directly give material support to you as an emissary?
Yeah, I do have on my Facebook and through GoFundMe, I do have a GoFundMe going.
So Michael Sullivan is your Facebook page?
Yes.
To get to?
Yep.
And the other one is?
The GoFundMe page is veterans traveling to Standing Rock, and it has my name in it. I post it through Facebook and everything,
Okay.
but that's my main means of getting support.
Wonderful. And if people want to learn more about this, they can also contact me, Ralph Galen, at 30minutes@gmail. That's 30 minutes at Gmail. And we can't go everywhere, and we're trying to do the best that we can to be good of the earth. And it just makes me feel so wonderful that you're out there, and that the Veterans for Peace Board will be out there, and that you've been so accepted by the 350, I think it is, tribes that have gone there. So thanks again for watching 30 Minutes.
Thank you.
And you can reprise this on YouTube shortly, and we're very thankful to the House of Peace for letting us film here, and for Lawrence Access Community Television. We thank our producer, Tom Gale, of One World Community, and terrific. One with nature. Let that be our mantra this week. Go out there and love it.
Okay.